Alright, so you've seen the arithmetic sequence, and again, now we're talking about geometric. I showed you a simple video where we multiplied by 3, and I showed you how you can also multiply by negatives. Now I want you to see what's called the common ratio. Okay, when you see the word ratio, just understand this is a multiplication of a fraction. And this is where problems get interesting, is when it's a true ratio, is if you see a fraction. Because it doesn't always pop up right away where it's pretty obvious. So for instance, a medium difficulty problem would be something like 2, 1, 1/2, 1/4, 1/8. And if you look at this pattern, you're like, well, it's not addition, so it's not subtraction. But if you look at it, you're like, you could ask yourself, am I dividing by 2? And the answer is yes. You could look at this as dividing by 2. And this is where some of you are going to struggle because you don't like fractions. So I don't like division. What I like to say is if I really look at it, if I cover up the numerators, because they're all the same, I'm looking at this and I say, well, if I look at the denominators are multiplying by 2. So I don't like the division idea. I like to say that my common ratio is multiplication of 1/2. So the idea is you multiply the top by 1 and multiply the bottom by 2. Okay? Alright, so the idea is write that as a 1, write that as a 1. You want all of these to be fractions if you start seeing fractions. Okay? So 1 times 2 times 1 times 2, which means my next one would be times 1 times 2 times 1 to the top times 2 to the bottom. Okay, that's medium level. Alright, so now let me show you the more difficult example. Okay, so this would be something, this is a difficult problem. Okay, 3, 2, 4/3, 8/9, ... Okay, now I told you, I'm going to tell you again, if you start seeing it go to fractions, rewrite these as fractions. Okay, now we typically like to think about going from A1 to A2 to A3 to A4. However, it's really hard to see a direct pattern here because I can't think of how can I go from 3 to 2. And I can't think how, I can easily say how I would go from 1 to 1, but 3 to 2 is a little bit more difficult. So I'm going to pick out easier patterns to look at. Okay, I like looking at these two right here, or possibly these two right here, because they were already the fractions anyway. So let's actually start over here. If I look at this, I can see 4 and 8. Well, I could multiply that times 2. And if I look at 3 and 9, I'd be like, oh, I can multiply that by 3. And this is your common ratio. Okay? The actual formula for the common ratio is, if you need a formula, you would look at, let's say, the second term divided by the first term. Or you could do the third term divided by the second term. Or the fourth term divided by the third term. So if you're having a hard time seeing the ratio, pick any two terms in the sequence and divide them out. So again, if I would have done it with this piece over here, I'd be like the second term divided by the first term is 2 divided by 3. And that's my common ratio. Okay? Or I could have done, if I looked at these two, I could have done 4/3 divided by 2. Then remember, we don't divide fractions, we multiply by the reciprocal. So I would multiply by 1/2. And that's where I would get 4 over 6, which also reduces to 2 over 3. There's different ways to look at it. You can either use the idea of the ratio of the second term to the first term, or you can try to find the pattern by turning it into fractions. It is completely up to you. Okay? These are the ones that are a little bit more difficult. Okay, so Once you find the common ratio, once you figure that out, then you can find the next term in the sequence. So again, the top is getting multiplied by 2. So 8 times 2 is 16. And 9 times 3 is 27. 16 times 2 is 32. 27 times 3 is 81. Okay. Now the next video I'm going to show you how would I actually go about finding something way down here, like the 10th term. Okay, and we're actually going to learn a formula. So check out the Khan Academy assignment that actually mentions it has fractions with it. Okay, try that one for me. If you have any questions, let me know. After that, there will be another video showing you what's called the geometric formula.